Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
And how are you, John?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good. I'm sure you're anxiously awaiting the arrival of some new systems. The background.
That's the truth.
Well, at least you weren't biting your nails over it, or you'd have no fingers left. But all in the right timing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when this spaceship unit comes, many people are excited about it, but maybe they don't realize how big a deal this really is. It really is it's gonna change a lot of things. And a lot of people are going to pay attention after it comes out.
There'll probably be quite a few headlines across the country in different, what happened here? John?
No, no, that's me.
It'll come
Sorry.
out.
Okay.
It'll come out in ways that'll surprise a lot of people.
I think the military is probably going to be quite pleased that they can do something with some of their soldiers who they've tried every which way to help. And I know the vision and brain enhancement, emotional enhancement systems are dedicated, at least a part of them.
This will be exciting also, you know, as we start to show exactly what they're capable of doing. And when people see that, you know, their lives can change because of this, you know, again, it'll get a lot of attention.
So
and we're very close. We're very close to seeing those. Very close.
Right. So the body enhancement, even though that's not what they're actually in the bigger picture, I know he said it should be called a soul enhancement system, but it will be beautiful to see some of these videos maybe of servicemen who can give a beautiful testimony, like on Rick's program or through your organization there in Arizona. I think it's just going to be so elevating for all the veterans across the country, active and retired.
I agree.
Yeah. Because a lot of people aren't able to shake the things that happen to them in conflicts and so on. And maybe they'll come out, you know, with this sort of understanding that the war is not the solution, as we've always used it to seem to solve our problems, but it's just, and even now going into Ukraine, here we go again. But we're not going into Ukraine. It's just, as he said, a dog with no teeth barking. I was thinking it was because of all the things that have been done over the last couple of years that they need a new sort of diversion of people's thinking and, you know, focus rather than opening up what has actually happened. And I think, didn't Mr. Kesh say there would be some solution for those who've perhaps taken the wrong thing or been, forced into it, worrying about losing their jobs or their positions and so on, that I think there'll be something within these systems for them as well. How do you feel about that?
So new energies are coming to all of Earth. So whether they want it or not, the energies of the Earth will allow certain people to change without the systems, and more people to change with the systems.
Are you speaking about the elevation of the soul of the planet?
Yes.
I have a question first, John. John, are you flying with your system or not?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Not
Oh.
now. Not now, but eventually we will. We don't have.
I'm
We
trying
don't have
to.
systems yet.
Oh, okay. But you have. You already. You have. Just find it. It has one in your place. I know. Just find it.
So you're talking about the soul, and you're asking me if I'm traveling with the soul yet? Is that what your question is?
Yes, and you will feel in your body too. Just feel the sensation. You will feel in your body.
I'm trying, but I'm not there yet. You started to touch on it a little bit. Are you there?
I already a little bit, and then when I thought different thought, then one side it goes down, but I go up and down, but not flying, but I can go up.
Very nice. Very nice. It's people like you and others that will start to report on these things that will also get a lot of attention. And it'll be the right kind of attention, because people will start to understand that they don't need rockets anymore. And even though these units that we're going to bring forward, the spaceship units, the Kesh spaceship units, the pressure will be off the spaceship units, because people will already be traveling with their soul.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is how the doors get opened up for everybody.
Yeah.
So what Mr. Kesh showed us the last week must have created a lot of interest within the space communities of the various governments, this creation of gravity. I was making a little video. Newton discovered gravity, but MT Kesh created gravity. Or this idea that you can land, I guess that would be the main thing. And the other reactor that they showed a number of years ago was the lift portion of it. Did anyone reach out to you saying, wow, this is so fantastic, I'd like to be part of it? Or maybe they're just thinking in the background and preparing their resumes, so to speak.
Oh, when you lift it, then you will feel your whole body feel like a heart. It is pulsing, whole body. You will feel that.
So the longer you can stay in that state,
Yeah.
the more your body will become accustomed to that state as the natural state of being. So hang in there and keep the practice going.
Yeah, you too. Good luck for you too. And thank you for good advice.
I think that you have to be vegetarian to be able to do it. I'm not sure, but I think. I experiment on myself. I pay visit to some friends, and I eat some fish there, and I was not able to go out from my body because of this.
So do you remember when Mr. Kesh talked about you know, how um, our soul knows when we're lying. And when we kill and eat another, whether it's vegetarian or fish, our soul knows that these acts are
Correct.
not correct.
Yeah.
So we talked about how when we stopped eating and started feeding ourselves with these systems, that things would become much easier for us. So I don't think it's necessarily a vegetarian versus a meat thing. I think it's more of a being correct with our soul in terms of everything that we put into our body and our feelings about everything we put into our body. So if, for example, if your thoughts are that every time you eat meat, it's bad for you, then your soul picks up on that vibration.
Could be. I explained this afterwards, because starting from my childhood, I wanted to fly because my mother was able to fly, and my wish was to be with her and fly. I was not able to do with during her life, but after she passed away, I was able, and I think that she taught me how to do it. And
It is nothing to do with food.
no,
Nothing.
no,
No.
okay.
I will tell you my experience. Like 4.5 years, I feel like more if I go to bed, and when I woke up in the middle of the night or early in the morning, that time I feel my body is levitated. So it getting lighter and lighter. First, I used to feel like a few inches from the bed. Now I go up, more up. My eating habit, nothing changed. I eat normally, everything. But I feel something inside my body now. When early in the morning, I feel lighter and lighter. There is no weightlessness inside, and then fill up. And then, like 4 weeks ago, Thursday in the nighttime, I saw the spaceship. I was lifting it up, and when I thought my body is close to my fan, I sleep in second stairs. So that time, one of my spaceship corner is going down. So it's happened 3-4 times. When I think about fan, it's go down one side, and then I just woke up and get ready for taking my daughter to the university bus. So I came downstairs, and my daughter came out from her room, and she's saying, "Mom, early in the morning, somebody in our backyard, something rubbing in the floor, like your big tub. I have big tub of small fruit tree and the flower." She's saying those thing is rubbing somebody in there. So I told her, oh, it is my spaceship. I was trying to fly it, and she thought I am joking with her. So we went out, and that is the story. And every day, early in the morning, I try to feel that sensation again. But that day, I saw my spaceship, and I saw somebody else flying near me. That was our neighbor. Neighbor means not from here, but he laughed with me when I was doing that, and he saw me and he laughed at me, and I laughed too. That is the story. So nothing changed. We can eat everything, and you can feel in your body too.
Selena, where are you from?
I'm from Bangladesh, but I'm living in Georgia.
Russia, Georgia,
No.
Georgia, United States.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Nearby you, not too far.
Okay. So it's interesting what you're talking about. There's really two things that can happen. Number one is when you're truly traveling with your soul as you being the pilot. And number
Yes.
two is traveling with your soul as another being the pilot. In other words, joining with other beings during your restful times.
Yeah. There's other being. But I thought that was another dimension, not in here or somewhere else. I don't know. I can explain.
Yeah.
John,
So you can actually do both of those two things. You know, one of the things you can do is to ask to join with other extraterrestrials during your sleep time and assist them in the work that they're doing. And the other thing, and sometimes you remember, sometimes you don't. But you have, when you're doing this, you have an inner knowing of what it is that's going on, whether you actually visualize it or not. And then the other thing is you can kind of become your own Merkaba and travel with your soul anywhere you want to go without a quote spaceship. You become your own spaceship, and you don't need to have other people associated with it.
Yes. And I feel my spaceship, my house is inside my spaceship. I feel like that. That means my field is farther than my house, my area.
What do you say about this, Salamia? Or Azar? Maybe Azar wants to come in and talk a little bit.
on the lighter side, John, do you have a large parking lot there at your facility? Or are you in the market for any used UFOs? I was thinking the universal community, even though they're hearing the soul of Mr. Kesh, they might be interested in experiencing one of these units or several of these units. Is that anything you've considered, or they don't need that?
Our parking lot's about 75 spaces, so it's pretty good size.
Oh, yeah.
But probably what we'll do is we'll move the space flights to a bigger environment after initial testing, after we understand things, as in a stadium.
Right. You said there was going to be a period of setting up and testing that had to go on. They weren't just going to arrive and go right into operation, correct?
That's correct.
But I was just thinking it may be a magnet, maybe like Austria or even Tehran, for some of our friends in the universal community that may want to get a hands-on, so to speak, experience there.
It will be in coordination with governments. So
Of course.
when we do any type of flight, we have to involve the government and the FAA, because the airspace, I'll say, belongs to them. They control the airspace until we get up to 50,000 feet. So there needs to be coordination. We can't just, run willy-nilly and do test flights here and there and into other countries without coordination. And these are things that Mr. Kesh is working on over in
Right.
Austria to get certifications. And we'll have to do the same thing here in the United States. That's why we want to bring in partners like NASA.
John, I have to say your home looks like a spaceport to me.
Did you see it?
I did.
Yeah, it is.
and and you have all that desert to use too.
Yes. Who knows? We might do some things in our backyard. I don't know. We'll see. I was mentioned to Mr. Kesh a while back, probably 2 years ago, when Mr. Kesh started first talking about how you create a spaceship with the energies, and how he drew a spaceship, and he drew these little markers around the spaceship, and he said that these are energy centers, and if you had this many energy centers, that you could coordinate them all together to create a spaceship. So in the universe, it's my feeling that when extraterrestrials create a spaceship, they do it not with hammer and metal and molds and all this kind of stuff, but they do it with thoughts, and that they join together energetically to create like a circle that becomes their flower of life, that becomes the creation point for creating what it is that they desire, and then collectively their energies build this spaceship with their thoughts. And I believe that this is also how the cities are going to be built in the future. The the flower of life, each of these 12 or 18 people in a circle create an energy field around them, and those energy fields interact with each other, and the stronger gives to the weaker, and the collective thoughts of all of them become one, so that they're creating whatever it is that they wish to create. And I showed it also with the 12 chairs in our facility right now that we're playing with, if you will. But when we get these multiple universal body enhancement systems, it will work in the same fashion. We'll have 12 energy fields, each one maybe a little bit different, but each one feeding the other, so that rather than become a single spaceship, we become a huge spaceship. And this huge spaceship will be able to decide whether we want it big enough to carry 10 people, or whether we want it big enough to carry 1,000 people. It'll be up to our thoughts as to what it is that we wish to create.
Mr. Kesh had described the lingering effects of the flight system, which could be that you don't have such an emotion for eating, maybe for 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months going into the future. And this would probably give us a cleaner environment to be able to do things better, as you said, to be able to absorb more fields that haven't been made into souls up to this point, and just to absorb from the universe. I would imagine that's what the 80% that we can do, that we're capable of doing now, all of us, they're pure fields. They haven't been made into beings or souls or anything, right? This is the idea of absorbing fields before they're turned into a creation.
Exactly. Do no harm. Do no harm to other of God's creations. So I think a lot of this, we have to go through this cycle of learning. And that's why, Mr. Kesh is talking about bringing on, experienced engineers or scientists to help us move rapidly as a one nation towards understanding all that is to be unfolding in this paradigm changing world that we're moving into. So what when we find out that when we don't eat, or that when we eat energy, or the energy fields feed us rather than steak and vegetables and rice, that we have this opportunity for our soul to become more correct with our being, and by becoming more correct, it'll be easier for us to start to learn how to travel with our soul, as Selena and Salome have pointed out. Everybody that goes into these spaceship units in some ways will be changed. Some people will have trouble going into the spaceship units. Others that do go in might find that a lot of things come up for them, that they need to have healed. Other people will find them blissful, or be like in a different environment. Remember that these things are now containing universal energies. Universal energies are different than anything we've experienced here on Earth up until now. Universal energies, and this is why the craft will be able to go farther than this solar system. They'll be able to go beyond the solar system into the universal community, which has been a problem for the spaceships of the past, including those manufactured by the black budgets that are sending people to Mars and Moon currently. So this is a step beyond, but it takes an elevated crew to be able to deal with them correctly. And these will allow for that elevation.
Hello, this is I have one question for you, Jon, and that is, when these spaceships all go flying, is your place going to be empty, or are they going to be in two places at once? Just wondering.
It's not quite that simple of an answer. The craft, so let's talk the initial spaceship craft. There's going to be 2 units, just like there's 2 units in Austria currently. One will feed the other until it reaches a stage where it's ready to, I'll say, turn into a plasma field, a ball of light. And at that point, with the pilot inside, the single craft will move away from visibility of anybody in the facility and take off to wherever it's going to go, while a second vehicle remains in the I'll say in the hangar, for lack of a better word, or at the facility. Now with multiple units, with a bigger spacecraft, everything will be consumed into that energy field. So if we had 12 units and Um, you know, we're using that as a single spacecraft. They'll all be consumed into that energy field, and all 12 will depart. Does that make sense to you?
It is beautiful. Yeah.
So all the matters about borders and all this has to get worked out. I wouldn't imagine there's any sort of current sort of communication devices on the craft to radio ahead you're going to come in for a landing or anything. So there's certain things, right? There's probably no communication systems other than through the soul.
That's correct.
Yeah, there's not.
So you
gonna
won't be able to radio
Right.
a tower and say, I'm coming in for a landing.
Mhm.
You'll just show up. But again, these things will be coordinated in advance so that
Right.
everybody understands what it is that you're doing. And I'm not even sure, it'll be interesting. This one kind of puzzles me. But if you're in the spaceship and you wanted to take a picture from the spaceship to the outside, I'm not sure that your phone or your camera will work properly because it's in a different energy field. I don't believe any electronics will work. But this is something that we're going to have to experience. Maybe there's certain types of cameras that, you know, flash quicker than others, but we have to learn this. You know, it would be a shame to go all the way to the moon and not be able to take pictures and show that you were at the moon.
Well, he did talk about bringing back souvenirs from places, the way people go from China to New York and maybe pick up a souvenir and bring it back. But I always wondered if that souvenir would change based on the fields that you've picked up, you know, on the way back. As he said, if you take a diamond ring from here and you go someplace else, it may manifest as something totally different. Wouldn't it work in the other way as well?
Yeah, you know, you bring up something that we will need to learn. You know, do we have the right to go and take rocks or minerals or gems from the moon? Do they belong to us just because we went there and took them? Or do they belong to the moon and we need to ask for permission to
Yeah.
take them? And I think we'll start to learn that whether we pick an apple off of an apple tree or, you know, pick up a rock from a place that, you know, isn't our native, you know, community, if you will. Are we stealing? You know, do we
Right.
need to ask for permission that our
Yes,
soul remains correct?
that's what Mr. Cash says. He says if you ask permission and you're granted that permission, then it's fine. If you're given that permission to do that, to take a rock or to something else. If you ask and you're given to, then that's fine.
And another thing is, you know, the issue of landing and taking off. If you land, for example, on the moon has a gravity associated with it. And just like the Earth has a gravity associated with it, you have to be able to understand whether this vehicle can break that gravitational plane to be able to take back off again. So the landing and getting out of the vehicle and moving around is something that we need to learn before we start, landing on the moon, thinking that everything is fine, because we might not be able to get back off of the planet.
At one, yeah,
In Arizona, we're going to have some type of a launching pad. I say launching pad, but a break from a platform that gives us a break from the gravitational fields of the Earth. Whether it's 3 feet high or 8 feet high, will be yet to be determined. But right now, we'll have trouble leaving the Earth without some type of distance from the existing gravitational fields. He talked about, being on a second floor at one time. The exact amount of feet high is something that we're working on. But it's not like you can just, drop down and take off at will any place you want.
he was referring to putting in the vision enhancement systems into the flight system or the universal unit as some sort of way to operate it. Any
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
It'll be like the pilot will have a vision enhancement system that allow him to learn how to control the vehicle while his soul is graduating to a higher level. Because right now most of our souls aren't there. So we're going to use this vision enhancement system to allow for one person in the cabin to take control over the flight. So that if somebody wants to go to China and another person wants to go to Tehran, the pilot will be the decision maker ultimately where they go. Eventually, things will be more of a collective decision. But right now, we're going to use these vision enhancement units as like a helmet for the pilot to assure that the flight isn't hijacked or that one person is in control, and that one person can learn how to, with that system, can learn how to balance his energy field so that his soul can graduate. Or her soul can graduate.
Now, in the last workshop, he said that you didn't really need access to these systems to achieve this flight or this moving around the universe. But there's been very few, I guess, individuals, but maybe these new energies coming in, and depending on your desire and your emotion to want to do that without actually going through the enhancement systems is a possibility. He said if you didn't have access to these units.
This is what Selena and Salamia were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just as important as these units are. Every bit as important. So when these people, discover what they're capable of doing, and potentially maybe they go to the moon and pick up a rock and bring it back, I don't know, with permission of the moon. This will open up doors to where the old powers that want to control everything will realize that they don't have control of everything, because anybody can do it. Anybody is capable of doing it. Whether they want to reach those levels or not is up to them.
Yes, that is the point. Yeah. And we communication, we communicate with others with emotion. Now I'm thinking, what the neighbor I saw. So he was laughing. I felt his emotion. I felt like this. He's happy. I'm trying. I'm progressing. I felt his emotion. So yes, it is progressing.
Nice. Very nice. And this is the type of thing that we're doing with the 5+1 group, is that we're sending our energy fields to this group, this collective, along with our emotions of whether it's love or peace or, changing the world. These are things that we're doing right now as universal community and, assistance to the universal community. And it's something that we should practice, whether we're doing it with 5+1 or we're doing it with our child. It's not hard to do, and it benefits them.
John, this is Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Do you feel that this may be what Mr. Kesh was talking about when he earlier said Doc was talking about the responsibility of the knowledge seekers?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. We came on this planet for a reason, and what we're finding is that reason is to serve all of humanity in the ways that we're capable of, and that are at our level. For some people, that means not a whole bunch, and for other people, it means a lot.
Huh.
Whether we go into a grocery store and smile at the cashier, or whether we simply have a thought, in our own quiet space, that we wish, the leaders of Canada to, come to the right conclusions and allow, the freedom that they're all hoping for to come to pass. They're actually, the truckers, for example, in their own way, are doing what we're doing with the 5+1. Their prayers, their thoughts, their actions are peaceful and loving, and it's going to be, ultimately it's going to be fruitful, because love is stronger than any other force. And this is what they're projecting. And we can help them.
Of course, you may have some sort of birthing center there as well, maybe sooner or later, for these new souls that are going to be created, where the soul is created first and the physicality follows. So that would
Okay,
open up a lot of,
okay, so this is food for thought for all of us.
sure.
Maybe, we talk about the universal body enhancement systems being a tool for creating that new soul. Maybe we find out that it's not necessary to have the universal body enhancement system to do the same thing. So in other words, as these universal energies start flooding the planet, maybe, two bright lights, a male and a female, start to understand that I don't need a body enhancement system to do what it is that he's talking about. In the universe, they create, it's my understanding, I haven't experienced this firsthand, but it's my understanding that they can create a child without the sexual organs through two energy fields. Think of it like two universal body enhancement systems interacting with each other in ways where, both of them are sharing their energy fields in their soul in a way that creates another soul. So maybe birthing centers are in everybody's space, or available in everybody's space. But again, it's about the universal energies coming to this planet in a larger way. And we're on the precipice of that.
Yes, I see Danilo from Brazil has his hand up. Would you like to come in? You don't have to raise your hand.
Yes, please. Hello, everybody. My name is Danilo from Brazil. In my dreams, I can fly and I can use my soul as a spacecraft. Sometimes I use like a skateboard and I do tricks. And sometimes I can change the level of speed. And once I did it, and it was really, really, really faster. And I went outside of the planet very, very fast in a second. But my question is, what's the difference between controlling your spacecraft during your dreaming state and during your daily state, you know?
If you are awake, then you will feel in your body and you are awake. And when you in sleep, if that is like a dream, but not dream, you know, the outer body experience. And then physical experience for the spaceship, it is when you are wake up, and then you will feel in your body. Every nerve in you will feel in your nerve in your blood. It will pulse whole body. I feel like that, and I don't know about the John. John can say John's experience.
So I think when you quiet your mind, that's when you have this ability to make your dreams or your thoughts come true. You know, a lot of times just in meditations, people can travel. So because everything happens within you. So if you practice the within rather than the without and outside of you, and go inside of you and start to manage your thoughts and manage your breathing and manage your heart rate, and pay attention to, you know, what's going on around you. This is how you can do it outside of the dream. You can also focus your dreams before you go to sleep to what it is that you desire. Because sometimes the mind just runs rampant and we find ourselves in our dreams all over the place. You know, maybe, you know, doing things that don't make any sense to us. You know, if you focus those dreams before you go to bed, you know, you can do things that are more meaningful. So rather than go out and playing on the playground on your skateboard, maybe you're going and helping some, you know, people that are lost at sea or truckers that are having difficult times with their lives, and you're coming to them in their sleep time. Does that make sense to you, Danilo?
Yeah. But how to do it? You know, sometimes things happens, but you don't know how it happens. You know, I really don't have the full understanding of the universe, and that's the problem. Just stuff happens one time and never happen again.
There's a little bit of that that's going to go on regardless, but you can also, you know, take some time to meditate and, maybe focus where it is that you want to go, where it is that you want to be, rather than having random thoughts come into your mind from the universe. You be the controller. You set the channel of the TV that you want to watch. And it's experience. I mean, it's practice. It's not something that's just gonna, all of a sudden show up. It's practice.
John, if you could give us an overview, you've worked very hard when you were trying to create the spaceship, magrevs and wires and different sensing devices and so on. How do you feel about all that work? I know it added to your knowledge and it added to your enlightenment, but maybe you can just give us, are you going to go back and play with those things? Because now, or in the future, near future, you might be able to figure out what you couldn't have figured out before, or is this a point where you're moving on from that, perhaps? I just was asking you for your thoughts on, and we used to watch the Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and hopefully you'd be coming up with something new or exciting or a discovery. And you worked really hard on it, I could tell, even to other people were helping you and so on. And it has added to your knowledge and you've gained enlightenment out of it. But how does that, with what's happening now with the universal systems and looking back at that, could you just put that in some context for us?
That's an interesting question. I look in our we have one room at our facility where we've taken all of our old experiments and kind of put them in a history museum. And the number of different experiments that we had, some of them we tore down completely, but the number that we have currently is quite a few. And it's not like we didn't learn anything from these experiments, because we did, even though we didn't do everything that we thought we were going to, or achieve everything that we thought we were going to achieve with them. There was reasons why we went down this path, because it all kind of moved the technology a little bit farther forward. Now, every time we did an experiment, it was as if, I'll say, my life and the life of those working with me was being guided. So why did we add this GANs to that GANs and put them in this ratio? It's because that's what our soul told us to do. In our heart, we followed the direction of the breadcrumbs wherever they led. It's my feeling that when these bigger systems, like the body enhancement systems, show up in our facility, that they will create an energy field where some of our old systems that we created will now take a new life. He mentioned at one time that any GANs material that we had the ability to, I'll say, light up, energetically,
Illuminate?
illuminate. We were able to reach that with, electronic devices by sparking high voltage electricity through it, like they do with, the plasma balls, etc. But there's other ways to do it. And I think when we find, let's say, for example, that we figured out how to illuminate CO2 to where it creates its own energy field as a ball of light. I think we're, tapping into, a whole new understanding of what, I mean, it's like we're in the infancy of understanding the world of plasma. And by going through some of these early experiments and understanding how we create these GANs and what the salts do, and if we add this kind of salt versus that kind of salt, what happens? All of these things are steps along the road that will lead us to possible future breakthroughs as these universal energies start to become available to us. So I'm excited to see, I already have thoughts of, bringing some of the old experiments out and putting them into these environments and seeing, what happens with them. But we have to kind of take it one step at a time because, the magnetic and gravitational fields will be, let's say, influenced by these other magnetic and gravitational fields of the bigger unit. So everything will, just like our body changes, these GANs will change. So we just need to take it one step at a time and understand what it is that we created and what it is that we wish to create. And when I say wish to create, I think that's where, the energy fields of our imagination can also interact with these fields. So it's, we're opening up a whole new world of plasma science, and these early experiments will help along those lines.
Sure, I can see sidewalks or streets or other things sort of illuminated with a soft glow in a way. Often people report that have been on craft, they have light, but they never see where the source of the light is coming from. It just seems to be there. And maybe as the day turns into night, some of these soft glows, you won't even need street lights and other things like that, because they'll just, it'll illuminate a path in a way, if we're even still moving in that way, but I think we will be for a little bit longer.
John, do you remember Mr. Kesh a few years back, maybe a couple years ago, he talked about how when he used to work in his garage, and he said that he used the light of the Ganses to understand how to work with them and combine them and know their strengths. You remember that?
He was using the fluorescent lights, and the GANs materials would interact with the fluorescent lights.
Oh, is that what he was using?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just always, I used to think about that because I've always wondered how to work with the strength of the fields and ascertain the strength of the fields and stuff like that. I thought it could have been the interaction of his soul with the energies of the Ganses that produced a certain illumination that he could work with, but
Potentially, I don't know.
But it was fluorescent lights. So,
well, John has lit quite a few fluorescent lights, and we see that in some of the videos. Yeah, as a sensing in a way device.
Yeah, I think that these energy fields that we're going to create in Arizona will create its own energy light that will be able to be seen for miles. Will be like a beacon that will shine up into the sky for miles around us. And potentially, with my thinking, that it's almost like a portal where other beings will be able to come into this central environment and be safe and secure and interact with us. that's yet to be seen. You know, we wonder why extraterrestrials aren't, you know, here interacting with us in a more open way, is because our energy vibrations are too low at this point. But if the environment is such that the energy fields are compatible with them, or semi-compatible with them, you know, it'll open the doors. That's kind of what we're doing in a lot of ways, is opening up the doors to the universal community. You know, this spaceship will be able to dock and interact with other spaceships in the universe, because it will be of a higher vibration.
Yes.
Again, these are steps that we need to go through with our scientists and with our knowledge seekers. And it doesn't happen overnight.
Yes. But we will go. Everybody. It is our hope.
Yeah, I agree. Once the collective awareness starts to become aware of what's actually going on, and it's not just a story they read, but they're hearing from people from all over the world have experienced this interaction, the collective energies will get elevated in that way too, in addition to these fields coming in from the universe you speak of.
Yeah, each one of us become a beacon of light in our communities.
And that's why I always tell, relax, relax, and relax. Then you will feel your feelings. And you will find a way.
The quiet mind is the strong mind.
But nobody understand. Nobody did listen. All the time I used to say relax because of everything inside us.
Yes. Would anyone else like to come in that maybe hasn't spoken so far? And to ask John a question. It's not often we have John here on Sundays. He's, I'm sure, extremely busy preparing, getting things in place. And as he said, nothing happens overnight. But would someone else like to come in that hasn't spoken?
Shall we wrap it up, Mark?
Sure. Whatever you'd like. You're the
If nobody
host.
has any questions or any comments or anything they want to talk about.
Okay.
Alex, you good?
Thank you, John.
Oh, yeah.
John, thank you very much for pinch hitting today. This was more than welcome.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.